Hello everybody, welcome to Avaligo Technologies. So in the previous video, we were seeing about how to save the document as draft. And currently, now we're going to see about the banking module, which means how to collect the payment from the customer, which is called as incoming payment, how to deposit them into the bank, which is actually the deposit screen, and finally, how to pay to the vendor, which is the outgoing payment. Let's get the video.
This is the OEC Computers Test Database. In the banking module, the first concept is going to be collecting receipts from the customers, which means it is incoming payment. It is present under main menu, banking and incoming payments. So here when you open the incoming payment, you can see that there are three options here. Either it is from the customer or the vendor or the account. So you can collect the incoming payment from the vendor as well. That option also SAP has. But by default, the customer will be chosen. So select the customer name. So I'm selecting a random customer name. So when I just select the customer name, you can see that all the invoices that are open will get displayed in the line level data. So that will have the options, that will have the details like the document number, what is the document type, what is the document date, what is the total amount, what is the balance due in that amount. If you're not going to pay the complete invoice amount, then we can select it and then we can reduce the amount in the total payment option. Say for example, instead of 4,20,000, I'm going to give only 1 lakh means I can just select this and change the 4,20,000 into 1 lakh here. So that is how the payment receipt from the customer will be edited. Likewise, we can select as many documents as required. Likewise, we can select the documents for which the customer is going to pay the invoice now. So after changing the total payment, here you go into the payment means. Either you can click this button or you can give right click and then go to payment means. So when you go to payment means, there are four payment methods: check, bank transfer, credit card and cash. So through which customer is going to make the payment for you, you have to select that particular payment mode. Say for example, if the customer is going to give you through the bank transfer, you can select the bank account here. So I've selected the bank account here and then the transfer date, which is today. And then in the total amount paid, instead of typing the entire 1 lakh, you can just simply type Control BB for Bangalore or Bombay. So when you type Control B, automatically the amount inscribed here in the incoming payment will get displayed here. So this is one method. So similar to bank transfer, you can also give checks or credit cards. Similar to bank transfer, you can also collect the payment through checks or credit cards or cash, or you can also split the payments. Say for example, 25,000 through check, 25,000 through bank transfer, 25 in credit card, and finally the 25 through cash. So in that process also, we'll be able to do the payment means. So I'm coming back to the bank transfer screen. I'm just scrolling down. I'm giving OK. When you check the journal entry preview, you can see that the bank account is getting a debit, the customer is getting a credit. The realized foreign exchange losses, that is zero here. So now I'm adding the incoming payment. This is the process of adding the incoming payments. This is this is a process of adding the incoming payments through selecting the customer invoice. If it is going to be through the credit memo means, then the value of the invoice and incoming pay, if the value of the invoice and the credit note will be adjusted, it is enough if you make the final payment alone. Other option is the payment on account, where when the customer is doing an advance payment, that is without referencing any line level document, that option is also possible. Say for example, I'm just adding a new customer. So I'm giving payment on account. So here I need not select any line level document. Instead, I can just give the payment on account. I can just type a random amount. I can just type the amount which a customer is paying without referencing any invoice or credit notes. Now I can do the payment means as usual. So this is basically payment on account means it collecting the advance payment from the customer without referencing any document. So this is the first concept in the banking module, which is actually incoming payment. The second concept is the depositing the amount in the bank, which is actually present in the banking module. Under deposits, you have an option called deposit. So deposit basically means the amount that we collected or the checks we collected from the customers can be deposited in the bank. Say for example, you can see that there are four modules here: check, credit card, cash, and finally the attachments. So if I just, these are the checks that I've received from the customers. So if I just select any check, I need to give the bank account name, which bank account I'm going to deposit it to. So I'm just giving the bank account, the first bank account here. So I'm just selecting this bank account. And now if I just give add, you can see that this particular check will be deposited in your bank account. This is for the check payment. Similarly, we can do for the credit cards and cash as well. Say for example, by default, my cash account, which has a balance of 3,59,440 is appearing here. Now what I will do is I'll just select the bank account, which I'm going to deposit this particular amount into. So I'm just giving bank number one. So when I just you can enter the amount, you need not deposit the entire amount. You can enter the amount, but it should be lesser than the total amount. Say for example, 3,59,440. I'm just going to deposit the 3 lakhs, keeping the 59,000 still in my cash account itself. So now if there is any remarks, I can type in. And now if I try to add the document, you can see that the journal entry is cash account getting a credit and the bank account getting a debit. So this is how we are supposed to do the deposit entries in the SAP Business One. The third concept in the banking module is going to be the outgoing payments. So that will be under the banking module, outgoing payments, and first topic, outgoing payment. So when you select the outgoing payment, you can see that it is available for vendor, customer account, TDS, and PLA. So basically, we'll do the outgoing payments only for the vendor. So basically, that's appearing here. But you can still do the outgoing payment to customer as well. Accounts is an option where you do the petty cash payments, like where you mean the making the payments without, if there is no other vendor for it, we just want to debit the expense account and your credit your cash account or your bank account. In that process, you can use the account option. And TDS is that while making the TDS entry, while making the TDS payment to the government, the TDS option can be used. So now I'm selecting the vendor option here. So I'm selecting a vendor which has balance. So I'm selecting this TN vendor. So when I select this TN vendor, you can see that there is one open invoice that we are yet to make payment for, and the total payment is 15,930. So here I'm just selecting this document, but I'm going to pay him only 10,000 now. So I'm just changing this. So I'm going to the payment means. So similar to incoming payment, in the outgoing payment as well, you have four options: check, bank transfer, credit card, and cash. But this time I'm going to do the cash account. So I'm selecting the cash account here. And from here, I'm giving the total payment as Control B, and then I'm giving OK. So when I see the journal entry preview, you can see that the cash account is getting a credit, the discount is getting credit, and the vendor is getting a debit. Which means we have applied a discount of 10%, cash discount of 10% here. So that discount amount is getting hit in your journal entries. So now you can add the outgoing payment. Similar to the vendor option, similar to the incoming payment, you also have an option called payment on account, which means without selecting any reference documents, you can still pay your vendor as an advance amount. So when you just give payment, when you just select this option called payment on account, you can still do the payment by selecting the vendor. So this is for the vendor. The same applies for the customer as well. If you go to the account, you can see that the vendor details will get disappear. So generally, it is just making petty cash entries for the expense account. Say for example, I'm just choosing an expense called miscellaneous expense. So for this miscellaneous expense, I'm typing a document remarks as puja expenses. And then in the amount, I'm just going to give 250 rupees. So which means for this 250 rupees, I can just do the payment means. In the cash account, I'm just selecting the cash account. So I'm giving the total payment. Now when I see the journal entry preview, the puja expense will be debited and my cash account will be credited. So that is a concept of the petty cash entries that we will do using the account option without selecting any vendor. So these are the three concepts present in the banking module. Do check our YouTube page for the other videos. Thank you.